everyone. My name is Padmini Nidumolu, and I'm the co-founder of Lean and Agile for Women, an organization that was co-founded with Leila Rao with an intention to bring women in agile and lean spaces and organizations together on a common platform so we can share with each other, learn from each other, offer to each other, and most importantly, seek from each other in a psychologically safe space. And we launched several initiatives under this umbrella. And one of the initiatives is LIA100, also called Lean and Agile 100. It's an initiative that was launched to honor, recognize, celebrate not just the successes, but also the challenges that these incredible women across the world sustained and really persisted. And also the intent of this show is to bring that inspiration, how they overcome the challenges, and what it really took for them to persist and just move along. And what are some of their superpowers, if you will. And if one woman out there, or if one person out there gets inspired by these interviews, our effort is well worth it. So as part of that series on the show, today we have none other than Colleen Johnson. Hey, Colleen. Thank you.
Hi, Padmini.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you. So, Colleen, I'll just introduce you, just a few sentences, and then we can, dive deeper into the conversation. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, Colleen is Kanban coach, trainer for all across team, portfolio, enterprise Kanban systems. She's an executive coach for alignment of lean and agile practices to strategic goals and OKRs. She's an expert at the development of end-to-end Kanban systems that marry lean product discovery and lean product delivery to bring visibility, flexibility, and predictability. She's currently the CEO of ProKanban organization, and she's also the CEO and founder of ScatterSpoke. She's a lot more, I'm sure. We'll find out soon. So, Pauline, thanks again for joining us in your busy schedule.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Really an honor. So let's jump right into it, Colleen. What brought you into Agile in the first place?
Yeah. I think like a lot of us, it was by accident, right? We kind of fall into it, and you can't really go to college for being a Scrum Master. I started my technology career in QA and came up kind of as a QA engineer, and started working with organizations where the organization was going through an agile transformation, and QA was really struggling to figure out how to adapt the way they worked. And so at the time, early 2000s, I was working with a consulting firm that asked for, it was a QA specific consulting firm, and they had asked for some help building out a class specific for QA folks on what to expect during an agile transformation and how their role would change, kind of going from being a department to a member of a team and testing more real time rather than just at the end. And in getting more involved in that process of trying to help QA teams on that journey, I just fell in love with the agile part too. So I ended up becoming a Scrum Master and starting to coach other Scrum Masters and help other organizations along on their transformation journeys. So I think it was totally on accident. It wasn't like I saw it and thought this was going to be the right path for me. And I'm sure like a lot of other people in this role, there's moments where I can definitely tell you over my career, I've filled my mailbox with MBA applications or MBA pamphlets because I'm like, I don't know if I should do this anymore. I don't know if this is the right thing for me. And I think it takes a little bit of work to figure out what about Agile really hold your attention so that you can really dial into that piece and find your niche in this, because it's a busy space now.
It is a busy space. And as you said, it's also a vast space, right? There could be so many roles. There could be so many hats that you could be wearing. So you're so right that it's very important to kind of first understand where your passion lies and nail that down for yourself, right? And for the organization. So yeah. And we're so glad you kind of stuck on here and we are getting to you today. So great. And I know you also held several roles, Colleen. In addition to being a CEO of ScatterSpoke, a founder of ScatterSpoke, and you're the CEO of ProKanban, but you held other positions through your tenure, right, in Agile space.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about, first of all, what those roles were and what those roles are, and how did you even get into them, right? These are all pretty high visible and
Yeah.
high accountability kind of roles.
Yeah, I mean, I think my very first role of as a Scrum Master came through that course I mentioned. So I had gone into an organization to teach this Agile for QA Teams course, and I was very, very pregnant with my second child, and they asked if I would be interested in staying on and joining their team, permanently as a Scrum Master. So for me, it was a lot about my family at that point, not really wanting to travel and be leaving two kids behind. So I took that opportunity to put down some roots in the Colorado and Denver specifically, in the Denver scene, which has a really robust Agile community.
Yeah.
And when I was there, we started off I was just working with one team at a time. And then as we rolled, as one team would get good, I'd go work with another team. And then we slowly started to hire other Scrum Masters in. And then I became the director of the Agile program there. And that, it kind of worked my way from like starting with one team and then coaching other Scrum Masters to managing other Scrum Masters, and then working with the executive team to really help the executive team understand what it meant to be Agile across the whole organization. And then that really got me a lot more comfortable talking with, leaders, to the point where I left that role and went into consulting. And a lot of consulting requires a lot of confidence, because there's a lot of ambiguity sometimes in what you're walking into.
Yes.
So I think that really helped me feel a lot more confident, kind of slowly growing in one place before I jumped off and went into a consulting role. And then consulting is like trial by fire, man. It's drinking from the fire hose. It is fast paced, and you never, like, every big company is struggling with kind of the same things, but also very different things. And so I jumped around a lot and got exposed to a lot of different organizations really quickly, and learned a ton there before I was able to branch off and really do my own consulting under ScatterSpoke and focus full time on getting that business off the ground.
Wow. And I'm sure every step of the way, right, as you rightly said, there's so much ambiguity. And it probably required tons of confidence for you to just walk into it and tell yourself that you're enough each day, right? Of course, knowing that you have so much more to learn. How did that intimidate you? And how did you kind of overcome that? Because the reason I ask you is I think 99% of us are in that boat each day, no matter where you work, no matter which role you're fulfilling. How did you do what you did?
This is a shameless plug a little bit for some Kanban metrics, but that really changed the direction of my role with Agile, was really getting comfortable with data. I think for a lot of Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, you feel a little bit like the team secretary at times, or the team mom. I always tell everybody, it's like you're constantly telling your family, like, pick your socks up off the floor, pick your socks up off the floor. Nobody wants you to tell them that until you're not there and there's socks everywhere. So that's how I always feel, as a Scrum Master. And it can, you feel like you're nagging the team a lot. It can be a difficult role to find your groove with. And for me, a lot of that changed when I really got to understand flow metrics, and I was using them at that time with Scrum teams. But it made the conversation different, right? So it wasn't my opinion. It wasn't, I think you should do this, I think this is working, or you shouldn't do this thing. I was able to bring data to the team that could tell that story for me. And it became more about showing them rather than telling them. And I think that just gave me a lot more confidence in my ability to help the team get there, right? It became less about me and my skills. It became more about, how do I use this data to help the team get to the same place? And that was a really critical point, I think, for me, and my confidence and what I could do to help a team get better.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great point you brought in. In fact, I think you gave us two answers for the same question, which I'm grateful for. Um, One is, I think the confidence lies in putting the mirror in front of the team, right? That's what we do as agile coaches, right? And also, you mentioned about the metrics, right? That's your secret weapon. That's your secret, I would say, tool, not a weapon, it's a tool. So when you take it in front of the team, I think, it's like a mirror, they would kind of assess themselves, gauge themselves, which gives them an opportunity to improve continuously. So that's fantastic. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's so powerful, and I think it really helps too with the, making small improvements to the system over time so that the team owns the system that they're building, right? And
yeah,
anytime I've started on a new engagement, I always tell everybody, if in 6 months every team looks exactly the same, then we're doing something wrong.
yeah,
We should all be in 6 months, each team should have some subtle differences to how they're operating and how they're working and how they're doing things so that it fits what they're doing. And I think getting the team comfortable at looking at the data and saying, what is this telling us and what changes should we make based on the data
yeah.
helps each team on that journey of finding the right setup for them.
Right, right. And the data set is so different for each team. It's like almost, different individuals, right? So they have their own set of
Yeah,
challenges, but they also have their own unique capabilities and abilities.
right.
That is
Yeah.
so, yeah. And I know you were also on the board of directors of this organization called Agile Uprising, right? And I know they do a lot of good stuff, and they still are. Um, and I ask this of, most women I meet who hold these positions, right? What does it take to really step up to a position like that? Or even the position that you're holding right now, because this is in addition to your daily job, which brings you bread and butter home, right? And all of
Right.
us struggle with just 24 hours in a day and a family and other priorities. How do you how did you get to it, and how did you sustain that?
Oh, lots of wine and thick skin. No, I think honestly, I still struggle with saying no. It's hard. It's hard to get good at saying no to things. I get excited about opportunities. I get excited about speaking engagements or workshops that I can be doing. And you're right, there's only 24 hours in the day. So I'm getting a little bit better about prioritizing the things where I feel like they're bringing me equal energy, because then I know I'm giving my best, I'm giving my best to the situation if I'm excited about it. And I think that feels better to me. I feel I can have a little bit more strength in saying no to things if I know I'm going to go through it with like kind of a half-hearted, a half-hearted attempt at it, right? So,
Yeah.
but that I'm not great at that. I'm still working on getting better around saying no. Um, and then I think the other thing is getting, as I've moved up in different roles, you have to get comfortable having hard conversations. And one of the things that I've found in that for me personally is I have to spend some time prepping around what is the outcome, right? Just like we do with agile products and agile delivery, focusing on what the outcome is that you're trying to drive to instead of just delivering a bag of bad news to somebody or
Yeah.
feedback, maybe harsh feedback. So I'm trying to get better about being more deliberate about thinking through like what's the outcome you're trying to do by bringing, having a hard conversation so that you can stay kind of grounded in what that outcome should be. And that's also a work in progress. It's hard, and it's hard, I think having some of
Yeah.
these difficult conversations where we're talking about things that, in some cases are, you mentioned in the beginning things like safety, like trust,
Yeah.
safety, the way that respect and how we communicate with each other, and all of those things can add up to being something that is almost questioning someone else's values. So you have to be really thoughtful in how you approach conversations like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Spot on. I think those difficult conversations really define the relationships, and also our ability to question when something is not aligned. Right. And I think, just like you
Yeah.
said, backing them up with metrics, backing them up with your own expert observations, there's so much that goes into that, difficult conversation. So I'm glad you brought it
Yeah.
up. And also, I think one more thing that we do at Lean and Agile predominantly is having the women identify their internal barriers. right? External barriers will probably, continue to exist. And I'm talking about the, the gap at the organization level, or not many positions were geared towards women. I think those continue to exist. But I'm speaking about the internal barriers where we tell ourselves, right, that you're not perfect for that role, or I might not be deserving of that seat at the table, or my thoughts are not polished enough or refined enough to express, either on a public platform or even saying it out anywhere. Did you ever have those internal barriers, that dialogue with yourself, which pulls us back? If you did, and I'm sure you would have had at least one instance of that, how did you, really talk to yourself and went ahead and, did what you needed to?
Yeah, no, I've definitely had that conversation with myself. And, I think one of the things that I guess more recently in opportunities that have come up, I think there is such an important push right now for diversity and inclusion in gender and race and geography. And, um, but I think that that can often mean sometimes that you end up being the token person somewhere, right? The token female on the board. And, and it makes you question sometimes, like, why did I get this spot, right? Like, was I qualified? Did I do something that, made me deserve to be in a CEO spot or in this spot on a board of directors? And I can definitely get in that spot in my head with that internal dialogue of, did I get this because I'm qualified, or did I get this because they needed a woman?
Check mark, yeah.
And I think, I don't think that will go away. And I don't, I think it's a question that I'm sure a lot of women struggle with when they are presented with these opportunities. But I think for me, I have to always keep coming back to, it doesn't matter. Like, I have this opportunity and I'm just going to make the most of it, right? I'm going to bring the best that I have to offer to this. And, I think ProKanban is a really great example of that. I think if you've heard me talk over the years, I haven't always had glowing reviews of the certification business in the Agile world, right? I've been pretty outspoken about that in the past. And what really changed my mind about being part of ProKanban was that it's a community first, and it's about that inclusion and safety and being able to ask questions. And it's not about taking a test and getting a certificate, right? It's like, how do we make it so anybody who has questions feels comfortable coming into this space and asking the newbie thing, or asking, maybe something that somebody might feel like is an obvious answer. But I think that is really what got me excited about that opportunity. Was I got to do something that really meant something to me, that wasn't necessarily just about classes, right? It was about making that space for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. And I like what you just said. I really liked where you said, hey, I have the space, I got the spot. And it really doesn't matter what circumstances led me here. It could be a check mark diversity, check mark, or whatever it is. I'm going to do my best. I think that's the right attitude. That's the attitude that all of us should hold, because it's one day at a time, right? It's incrementally, good. And if you do your best and bring your best today, I think it increments over time to something larger and something more magnificent. So yeah, I think that's pretty profound. Great. And one last thing, right? What advice do you have for our community? It could be just a word, or it could be anything that you really live by. What would you leave our audience with?
Well, I think the big things, I guess, is network, right? I mean, and that's exactly what you're doing with Lean and Agile. But I think there's always if the worst that can happen is someone's going to say no, right? But if you see somebody doing amazing work, something you're impressed with, ask to talk to them, ask to connect with them. I think right now more than ever, everybody is very willing to lend a hand and help somebody learn and help somebody grow in their career. And they'll tell you if they can't, that's the worst that can happen, is that they might say they don't have time, right? Or they don't have the bandwidth to do it. But it never hurts to ask. And I think, at the end of the day, we're all just people, right? And my husband always jokes that I'm nerd famous. But I think in our industry, we do have this tendency to like put people up on these pedestals where they're like the agile gods, right? And it's interesting. They're all just people, they struggle with some of the same confidence and internal dialogue we're talking about, and fear of speaking, and that just reach out. That connection, I think, puts everybody into an equal space, and they're probably dealing with a lot of the same things that you're dealing with now, or have dealt with them, going through their career. So it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, no, I love that. In fact, our signature program within Lean and Agile is called Offer Seek, right? That is exactly what we do
Yeah.
here. And we encourage women to ask, right? Of course, creating psychological space is the spirals part of Lean and Agile, but the encouragement is always, lean
Yeah.
in, ask, right? And as you rightly said, we used to say, hey, you'll be surprised at how many yes you get versus how many no, right? I think there'll be zero to none, no's that you would get when you ask somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah, lean in, ask, and as you said, everybody, are people, real people, and they'll be able to share. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Colleen. This was a very valuable, very enjoyable conversation we had, and good luck
Yeah.
with
Thanks for
what
having me. Yeah. Thank you.
that you're doing. Great. Thank you so much, Colleen.